Hello, hello, hello. Hey, DIGITAL. Happy Thursday, y'all. How's it going? All right, let's do some game dev. We're going to continue working on the refactor we were doing yesterday. Probably, hopefully, wrap that up. Hopefully just in time for tomorrow's episode 256. It's exciting. All right, so the thing we have to do here feels like it should be Friday today. One more day to go. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a weekend with nothing in it. My weekends have been very eventful. And they will be again soon, so I appreciate that at least this weekend, I've got nothing going on. Alright, so what we were doing is we've been splitting up this struct into multiple parts and storing them separately to help with some of the copying we were doing for our double buffer, and we need to finish that activity. So this could just be called block forms. Start out like that, I guess. Shenanigans, you're really making me want to play Baldur's Gate 3, but I just don't think I have it in me. Trying to psych myself up for it, though. I'm enjoying playing my little cozy city builder. Hey, Nix, how's it going? How have you been? Alright, is that it? Pretty much? Almost? What, Nix? What are you talking about? Yesterday's stream was pretty good. It was pretty lively. It was pretty long. I think today's stream will be a bit shorter. Oh, I said I was enjoying a little cozy city builder. Yeah, I've been playing Foundation, which is really nice. Cozy little city builder. Trying to get into, there's like 3 different branches you can pursue. You can pursue like an urban, a sort of city, or whatever passes for urban in medieval ages. You can do a more city folk kind of run where it's more about taxing citizens and like having this hierarchy of citizenry. You can play this castle kind of one where it's more about like military stuff. Haven't done that one yet. And there's another branch which is like monastic, where you can set up a monastery and like monks doing all this different stuff as an alternative to, you know, developing your citizens. Trying out that one. So far, I've only really gotten into the citizenry branch, trying to build up like a burg or whatever you call it, like a big, proper little medieval town. Monastery one is interesting. What's really cool about Foundation is it has this very organic, modular building system. So all the little buildings are like pre-made, like houses and economic buildings and stuff. But like all the main buildings, you build them out of modular parts. So you can be like, I want to add a hall with like a tower and like a fireplace and like an entrance here and like an arch over here. I see, Nix. Sorry to disappoint you. But it's pretty cool. It's been pretty cool. Whatever brings you joy. Thanks to Shenanigans. Now, the problem is, it's the problem that I want to. I want to play Baldur's Gate 3. Just gotta get over some stuff. Gotta get over some personal hangups. Preventing me from feeling like I can get into one of those runs. I have such a hard time finishing RPGs. All right, is that it? Was that the last thing? Did I stop? Did I stop yesterday just like with like one last thing to do? I have a feeling everything is still really broken. And so like I'm going to run this, but I have very little confidence that this is going to execute. Well, for one thing, the block rooms buffer isn't listed here, which is a problem. All right, I want to rewrite this component type list, maybe. Oh. Why do I have a coord? Whatever. Let's add this at least. Speaking of games, you got your you got yourself Cult of the Lamb. It's really fun. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, that did look fun. It's got kind of like a Binding of Isaac presentation, is my understanding, but it's got a lot of progression and stuff happening with the cult mechanic. That seems like a cool game. I like the art style. All right, maybe that's everything. Let's see. Let's see if it works. The audio server isn't working, but I don't know. I don't care about that. That's weird. So that makes sense. There's something over in the buffer sync area that we need to fix. Just part of the reason we set this up was a preliminary. This was a refactor, a preliminary refactor to let us do something else. Hey, Rihanna Journey. How's it going? Happy Thursday. So where do I fix this? This is a system level issue. Yeah, so we got our preview blocks. So this room buffer thing, is this? This is something else. This is like room bounds. Should probably call it that. Room bounds buffer. So that's the only value this is storing, right? Yeah. All right. Let's change this one around a little bit. It's going pretty good. That's good to hear. Room bounds buffer. So we also need game.world.add buffer component, lock rooms buffer, 3D. Yeah, I had an unfortunate time with the autumn sale. I got Foundation, and I only played that, and I was really into it while the autumn sale was going on Steam, so I didn't buy anything else. And then when I went and looked, I was like, maybe I want another game or two. There was like the sale was over. I was like, yeah, this is for the best. I have too many games to play. It's kind of funny though. Just speaking of pulling the trigger on games. I'm wrapping up a cup of tea. It's very nice. It's definitely going to run out soon, which is sad. All right, so we've split these buffers between what I call the forms and the rooms. The forms are like, are you a floor? Are you a wall? Are you a door? The rooms is like, what compartments are you either in or on the border of? Like, are you a wall that helps form this room? And if you're a wall that helps form this room, you might form another room too. There might be multiple rooms connected to your wall, right? You had to skip the autumn sale this year, sadly. That's unfortunate. There will be another sale. That's one of the few certainties with Steam, right? Is there will be another sale. The ever-growing Steam backlog. Exactly, shenanigans. All right, so here's the problem that we are addressing. Steam sales are great, except for the wallet. I think they're generally fine. I really don't buy expensive games. And if I do, I've waited so long, they're so deeply on sale. But it's usually fine. I have Game Pass, which has gotten astronomically expensive in the last year. It's crazy now. I think the ultimate version is like $30 a month. And it was like $20 last year or something like that. And it's been good to me. It's let me play the big games without having to buy them and play a lot of different games on both my console and my PC without having to like expand the backlog, as it were. So it's been pretty good, but it's getting to the point now where it's like, is it really worth like a that much money a month just to maybe play a game day one or some other games? I don't know. It's now 30. Yeah, it's 30 a month now for US dollars. It's crazy. Rhiannon Journey, you're cutting back on so many subscriptions right now. It seems like everyone is increasing prices and lowering value. Yeah, I am thinking about that. I have a lot of streaming service subscriptions. And now Hulu is like going away, kind of. It's like being rolled into Disney Plus. I don't understand. But yeah, I have a ton of services, and I really need to look at canceling them. The problem is my like I watch a lot of different stuff. I watch a wide variety of things. I haven't just started kind of collecting Blu-rays now, though, like used Blu-rays when I can get them like really cheap. Because I'm finding that a lot of the movies I want to watch are like not available. It's pretty crazy. Kind of coming full circle on a lot of this stuff. Diginanians, you've got Game Pass too. Apparently after the backlash they've gotten, if you stay on your current recurring plan that's tied to autopay, it won't increase. See, there you go. As long as that's true, I'm not even going to think about it. Yeah, I think they realize that maybe you can't raise your prices by 50% and like have everything be okay. Especially after announcing, you know, record profits and record layoffs. Kind of insane. Kind of insane, the media landscape we exist in. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm changing the structure of a frame here, or of an editing frame. So if we receive an input to do an edit, we queue that up. We don't do any of this other stuff right now. This is stuff we got to add soon. Right now, all we pretty much do is we add a command to the tool queue, and then the tool system will handle that. Down here, if we have any tool system calls, we'll queue up to run the tool system. The tool system will tell us whether there's been a buffer change that needs to be synced. And this is where things change. So now what we want to do is we want to sync. I should probably call settle. I maybe should call it like something other than sync, because there's two directions. There's like, we're going to settle stuff. So we're going to move everything from the preview blocks, which is where it is while it's like pending. I could have called this pending blocks too, instead of preview. But I like preview because that's the emphasis on it. The emphasis is that you need to be able to visually see what's happening, like what you're working on. So it's like, this is what it would look like if this gets committed, and then it may or may not get committed, and then the settle blocks is everything that's committed. So first thing we do when we're done is we sync that stuff, we settle it. Then there are a bunch of systems that need to run on the settle blocks while the preview blocks are still changing, which is why we're double buffering this. Next, you barely have any services now. No video streaming at all for the past 2 years or so. They suck so much. Just kind of insane. Yeah, that is insane. Rhiannon, they do suck so much. Yeah, I don't think nobody likes these services. Diginanians, apparently that doesn't apply for you. You had a 2-year bundle of Ultimate that came with your Xbox. Your last month is this month. Oh no. You think you're gonna still keep it though? You get your money's worth. It's not nearly the good value it used to be. Yeah, I think it depends. There's a bunch of different tiers. I get the Ultimate because I also have an Xbox, and my partner only really plays games on Xbox. So we get a good value out of it because she can play stuff, she can try stuff. She can play a lot of new stuff that comes out, or cool old titles that like cycle into Game Pass without having to maintain like a Steam library. And then I can try some stuff, and I can play it on PC or Xbox. So, yeah, I'll have to look. As long as it stays $20 or whatever, I'm happy with it. But the 30 is questionable. A little questionable. Hey, bad cop. Coming in with the Bernard. How's it going? Bearing down on us here. Yeah, it's so fractured, Rhiannon Journey. I want to cut a bunch of my subscriptions. I gotta keep Paramount Plus, because that's where I watch all my Star Trek. We watch a lot of British shows through Amazon Prime. We have like BritBox through Amazon Prime. I gotta start looking at things we can cut. I don't think we can cut Netflix. But I'm starting to look at the Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO bundle I've got over here. Not looking too hot for that one. There really isn't a lot of stuff I watch on there most of the time. So I think if I cut a bundle, it would be that trio. You'd ask what I'm working on? You know it. You know what I'm working on. Oh, we're still listening to our weird cinematic intro music. I always forget to change this. I'll change it after this song. How's it going, Bad Cop? I think I got my next jam figured out. I think I'm going to be doing the next solo dev jam, their Halloween jam. They let you use pre-made assets, and I think I'm going to try to use Max game template. Just see if I can have a nice time jamming out a game where I don't have to focus on creating content the whole time. Can't wait to edit levels. It's going to be so awesome editing levels. All right, so we're double buffering. Let's make sure the initial sync. I kind of want to rename this settle. So I could recall this settle buffer changes. And then we kind of know what's happening. And then we understand the flow of it instead of just calling it a sync. Otherwise, I have sync and then like sync back or something like that, which I think I started to write, but I don't want that. Settle buffer changes. So I'll call this. We ever finish working on the editor? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. You know, I think I can promise that we won't be working on the editor on episode 512. Hey, Omega Killer, are you using the free community version of Writer, or do you purchase one? How is it? Worth the money you spent? If you bought it. Hey, welcome in. How's it going? I like Writer. I've been using Writer for a few years. I pay for it because JetBrains is cool and your subscription price goes down over the years. So it's been kind of, it's every time I've thought about not using it anymore, it's like I pay a little less. I'm like, okay, I'll keep it up. We have been just talking about what subscriptions and what's worth it and what's not worth it. I like it. I like it for editing C#. I've been using it for so long. I don't know what else I would use. So settling the room buffer changes doesn't make sense as a thing. Or room bounds. So we're going to get rid of that one. On 512, we'll just be watching the next episode. No, on 512, we'll be watching this. Tomorrow's episode, exactly. And we'll be doing something else. Who knows? Who knows what we'll be doing? Okay, so what we're going to do here. So this is why I split this up, is because this is like really nice if we do it this way. Did I already get the buffers? No. So we get the buffers. That fits somehow. So we get the buffers, preview blocks.span.copy2 settle blocks.span. That's what we like to see. So we can call this forms. What we should do is get the, actually what we should do is get the components first. Or actually, no, we don't need to store the components because they're not the same components. Never mind. So we can do this. We can say preview forms.copy2 settled forms. Godot comes with ECS, or you built one on top of Godot? I didn't know Godot has ECS support. No, so I came from Unity a couple of years ago now. I switched over from Unity to Godot. We generally use, if we're doing a game jam or whatever, we do C# stuff. Or not C#, we do GDScript. We just do everything in GDScript normally for a game jam or something like that. For this main project, we're doing like an FTL-like, but we're doing it in like 3D. So we're doing, the gameplay is like a 3D space. Like it's a spaceship with like multiple levels. So you might have like the bridge and then like, I don't know, bridge, then like, I don't know, whatever, systems and engineering and like power and cargo. You have like more of what I imagine a spaceship would be set up like. But it's presented in isometric 2D. So you like slice layers away, essentially. There's kind of a cutaway system that's not just layer based, but that handles that kind of thing for us. And I wanted to structure this in a way that was like very performant, because there's gonna be a lot of simulation going on about what's happening in the ship and like the different compartments and like atmosphere, power distribution, all this different stuff. And so, like I said, I came from Unity, and I was very used to like the DOTS ECS stuff. I was an early adopter of that. Unity's data-oriented tech stack, entity component system. And I used that for the last 3 or 4 years of my time with Unity. So by the time I jumped to Godot, that was kind of just how my brain was wired. I kind of just rewired it for that. So I ended up writing like a weird, super bare bones, like just enough to get going entity component system. We're adding on to it all the time. It's like incredibly simple. But it's kind of how I like to design stuff. It's kind of like how I think. So in place of any other architecture, that's what we've used. And so what we've done is we've separated out the simulation layer of the game. Like the whole simulation is happening in C# land. And then we spit stuff back out we take input in and we spit like rendering stuff back out. So for this project, we're kind of engaging with Godot in kind of a weird way. Kind of a weird, kind of half-assed kind of way. So yeah, I'm doing some weird stuff on top of Godot. Don't make an ECS, and if you do make an ECS, do not write it in C#. 2 super important caveats on what to do or not do. Hey, hello. Alio? Not sure how to pronounce that name, but welcome in. How's it going? All right, so yeah, that's our little ECS. So what we were doing is we're handling the quote-unquote sync between our double buffers. So we have this live editing flow, which gives you very quick visual feedback as you're making changes. And then we have some stuff that happens on the back end when changes are committed. Like we need to redo the compartmentalization system, which is like a flood fill. Write the ECS in JavaScript again. Yeah, Diginanigans, that's what you should do. I'm doing some JavaScript stuff at work, and it is so slow. I'm doing it on the cloud, and I'm just like, please give me more resources. I'm not pleased. I would love an ECS in JavaScript. Stupid. All right, so we do this. So this is why we split it out, so we can just do this span copy stuff. We can just fully copy over the buffer, which is nice. What we were going to have to do before is we were going to have to interleave data, because some data was changing and some data wasn't. Or more importantly, some data was getting updated by one function or one parallel process and the other. We just needed to split this stuff up. So we've got that. So we've got settle. I'm going to call this block forms changes. So that's what needs to settle, I think. And then what we can do, so it can't just be this run. I want to start, because we're gonna right now we just have this fill system. We're gonna have this validation system. I need to start making these system names longer. Or nest them. So like I'm thinking about making this the edit system group, and the edit system group has a bunch of subsystems. Because the edit system group doesn't need to run if we're not in edit mode, right? Like if we're in play mode. So it's a little confusing because like the edit system group would run, but the tile system group is not really part of the edit system group because that system is just about rendering what's there. So I'm not quite sure. I forgot to change the music again. All right, so what we can do is when this system runs, if it needs to settle some changes, it will do so. The room buffer changes aren't getting settled. They're getting synced back. So when this system is done running... All right, we're going to make this a task, which I totally remember how to do. Omega Killer, you mentioned parallelize. You don't see any mutex as semaphores. C# has something underneath to prevent deadlocks and race conditions. All C# functions set thread safe. Not really. What you can do is you can use these things like these tasks to the safety thing that we're talking about is not like what you're describing. But yeah, C# has a lot of stuff to handle parallelization properly. We're just being lazy and just going to only use tasks to run the tasks, and then to make sure we're not, accidentally writing to the same stuff. That's why we're double buffering. So one thread is going to be writing to this, one thread is going to be writing to this. When one finishes, it's going to request to sync back with the other one. Well, luckily one of these tasks is not running over multiple frames. The tool system stuff is running every frame. But like if settle buffer changes, what we're going to do here is we'll say if settle buffer changes, well, what we need to do is we actually need to hold on to this. So if the fill system is done and not running, we'll run it again. We'll sync the changes, run it again. If we're busy settling, then we won't. We'll just hold. So we actually need to store this, I think. Or we can just wait till the next change. Is there a problem with that? There is a problem with that. So I actually want to store this. I don't know. We'll just hold on to this. So we can say, because the risk of this, of running this all the time, is that some frames it'll be like, yeah, we need to settle, and the other frames it'll be like, no, we're in the middle of something. And if we miss the request to settle, we need to hold on to it. So we're just going to keep track of this. So down here we'll say settle buffer changes equals false. Here we'll say if settle buffer changes or settle buffer changes. So if we need to settle now or we've done that, we can say if. So now we start asking about our task. So we're like, is the fill task is completed? That's a property, right? And then we just run this, and then we're going to run it again. I think we need to run this once. How do we do it here? In the main system, we just run an empty task. Okay. Yeah, because otherwise it won't report that it's done. So we just do like this. No, I'm deathly afraid of parallelization. I try to avoid it. The unfortunate thing is this flood fill stuff. It just is too slow, especially if what we're trying to do is we're trying to add on like a validation layer. So it's kind of like a flood fill in that it's going to go out, check all the blocks, check all the neighbors, make sure that every block placed is in a valid position. Like it's not like we don't have a door without a floor or whatever, you know, right? Which you're like, hey, Dave, you could prevent that while you're placing the blocks instead. It's like, yeah, you could, but then you're evaluating the stuff on the fly. Which is doable, but it seems easier to do it this way. To do a mask afterwards, especially because it's going to be kind of slow. And this way you could save a construction that's invalid and you can fix it later. Rather than not being able to even pose pose something in such a way that's like close to what you want, but you need to like fiddle with it a little bit. All right, so how do we do it here? So here we just have our main task. If main task is completed, this is how simple my tasking system is here. Task factory, start new. Game peak state, game system.run. So this is pretty much what we're gonna do. We'll say if fill task is completed. We can do the settling. So we'll settle now. And then we'll say game fill. We'll do the same thing here. All right, so we're going to run this. We'll change this to off. And then we'll say settled buffer changes equals simplify conditional ternary. Oh, or is cool. All right, so theoretically this will work. The thing is, we need to settle stuff back when we're done. So actually what we need to do... So do we actually need to ask if this is completed first? How do we structure this? Oh, do I need to change this into a task? No. This is a task. Doesn't need to be, though. Can I organize this a little differently? Oh, it's just returning this task. I see, I see. We could do something similar. For now, this should be okay. So let's see. How do we want to do this? So if we've got an input command, we run the tool system. The tool system make changes that need to be settled. We note that if this task is completed, we do the settling. What we need to do is we need to pass back we need to store another thing here. Can't think of how else to store this. So we're going to have... So when this runs... So whenever we run the fill task, we want to queue up that we push that preview back. Because the flood fill is the one that determines all that room stuff. And so we want to push that stuff back. So here we can say if because we don't necessarily want to wait for another command to do this. So we might actually just say here. Oh, that doesn't work. We could say else if. We could say if the task is completed and we need to preview these changes. I'm gonna rename this a little bit. Hey, Theron Keen, how's the spaceship going? It's going okay. We're making some changes here so that we can have a system that validates that the blocks that you've assembled are like, you know, quote unquote, publishable, like they follow all the rules and stuff. How are you doing? What have you been up to lately? We're in a pretty chill stream today. We've been popping off a few times. our last few streams, but it's good to have a nice chill stream. My energy levels are low. I've been working too much, but tomorrow's got to be hype. Tomorrow's episode 256, our next Power of 2 episode for probably at least a year and a half. It'd be crazy to see what we do, what we get done in the next year. Big changes. You're buying a house. You're switching from Unreal back to Godot. Well, congratulations on both counts. Buying the house and switching from Unreal back to Godot. Those are both great life changes. You might doze off on this stream. That's fine, Arneo. Yeah, I feel it. I can't doze off because I'm the one streaming. We're going to say if viewer changes. After almost 10 weeks, you and your kid just talked it over. You thought you'd be able to pick up a new engine faster, but it was looking like you'd need 12 to 18 months to get up to speed. We decided the time debt isn't worth it. You mean like switching to Unreal would have just not been worth it? In the whole 2 months, the kid worked non-stop on 3D modeling in Blender. That's awesome. He put in a few 60-hour weeks, never less than like 35 hours. That's so cool. That's really great. Oh, welcome back to Godot. AKA Booney. Why use C# over GDScript? No real strong reason, except that for this game, I want the simulation layer to like... I want the simulation elements to be very lightweight. Like, I didn't want them to be nodes. I didn't want them to be resources. It looked like we were getting big enough where the scene tree was going to be kind of a limiter for what I wanted to do here. So I kind of just spun off the simulation layer into its own little thing. Ideally, it wouldn't be in C#. Ideally, I would have written this as like a GD extension and then just called it from GDScript. That's what would have happened if I was a real programmer and I knew how to do like C++ and stuff. But I'm basically a script kiddie, so, you know, C# it is. But how's it going? Welcome to the channel. Theron. Yeah, the time you'd saved by using Unreal assets just isn't worth paying a year of time up front. You originally guessed you'd be comfortable with the engine in about 3 months, not 12 plus. You can still use 3D assets, just not code, blueprint, asset packs. Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, Unreal is a beast. Unreal is like the big one, right? I mean... So we're gonna do this, but like for... Why is this long? Oh, because this buffer actually gets resized. I see. Well, we can simplify this a little bit. We can change this. We don't need to do the get after the set, I think. I think I rewrote this to work like that. Yeah. What we're gonna do, this actually needs to go the other direction, right? For some reason, this is taking the preview and settling the room buffer stuff, but the room buffer stuff is getting set the other way around. Nix, Script Kitty. Oh, you're saying, yeah, Script Kitty makes a whole ass space game with their own Starship editor, modder friendly, wrote their own 3D tile mapper code, and made environment systems like air pressure, etc. That's still Script Kitty level, then what are you? I don't know, but that's how I feel about myself. Yeah, I feel like I'm forever going to be toasted by people who come in and are like, I'm not saying Booney did this. I'm just saying, like, people are going to look at what I'm doing and they're always going to be like, why did you do it this way? And I'll be like, look. You don't make the best decisions. You just make the decisions that, you know, you have available to you at the time. And then you live with those decisions for years. Theron, you didn't write your own engine assembly, Script Kitty. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, unless you're the guy who made Roller Coaster Tycoon and did the whole thing in assembly, you're not really a real programmer. I'm gonna move all this stuff in here. Oh, hold on a second. No, yeah, this is it. This is the stuff. Although it needs to not be forms. This needs to be rooms. All right, so this will copy stuff back from the settled buffer to the preview buffer. And then this will preview. So this will settle it. This will preview. This will settle the forms, and then this will preview the rooms. Because that's what's happening. The flood fill system is like figuring out all the room data. all the stuff about the rooms. And we want that information available as soon as it's done, which is why we're going to do it here if possible. So we don't want to wait for potentially more input coming in to do that. This will maybe work? Maybe? So this, I'm going to have this here just in case that the tool system asks for settlement on the same frame that the fill task is finished. I think that's okay to do. Kind of curious. Arda, you were silently thinking about FTL and how it'd be cool to make something like it yesterday, and now you see this? Yeah, I mean, yeah. FTL is pretty cool. We're doing kind of an isometric 3D take on it, which is pretty complicated because we're taking like a 3D space and like rendering it as isometric 2D. Well, not exactly isometric, but pretty close. But yeah, I think it'd be cool. This shouldn't work, but I think we're gonna try it here. I just say it shouldn't work, just so I'm not, you know, embarrassed when it doesn't. Yeah, there we go. I thought it was gonna work. Given key entity ID 00 was not present in the dictionary. That's a pretty mundane error. But the question is, where did this happen? So this happened during a copy? Edit system ready. Add empty buffer component. Copy entity. Okay, so this just happened when we tried to initialize this. That's not good. Why would that be a problem? So we run an empty task. Great. We create our entities here. Great. We add these empty buffers. Great. Theron. Spawn your own universe in reality to forge the atoms yourself to build the CPU. Oh, get the fuck out. Yeah, exactly. If you want to make an apple pie from scratch. What's the theme of it and stuff? You're thinking submarines and stuff. You're curious what I came up with. You're doing all this in Godot. Yeah, it's in Godot. It's spaceship, so like it's still in space. That's part of why we're doing it in 3D, is I want this kind of verticality. I think a submarine would have been a pretty cool choice, honestly. We're taking a very Star Trek kind of approach to it at the moment. I've been pretty inspired also by Void War, which is a new FTL style game, but that's like very 40K. We're taking in kind of a different thematic draw, I think. Maybe a little less gruesome. All right. I don't totally understand what the problem was, so we're gonna run that back. Void War looks sick. Yeah, I played it a bit. It's almost got too much going on, which is interesting. So this entity 0 was not found here. That's curious. So when we made the preview blocks, game.world.create entity, new block forms buffer, rooms buffer, room bounds buffer. So it's this call here. Edit system ready, preview blocks. Add empty buffer component. So we're adding this empty buffer component. We're copying entity with component. Oh, that's not going to work when you try to add an empty buffer component, is it? Buffer ID equals add empty buffer. Oh, it should. Well, hold on. Copy from... No, that should work. Add component value. T value. Copy entity with component. Or we're not sending... We don't have a component. Oh, we made a new value. Buffer ID. So it failed when we tried to find this entity in its source archetype. Huh, that's weird. What's kind of weird is that this is failing in the second case and not the first case. Nick's not too late to change. I'm sure everyone would love a new BioShock game. Submarines are cool. Hunt for Red October is good. They're on. It's like your game, but in the opposite thematic direction from FTL. Cool to see both outcomes. Oh, yeah. Void War is crazy. Void War is very shrewd. Void War is like, what if we just took a game and we took a very popular property and like pasted that property onto the game, but in such a way where we didn't have to pay any licensing fees. It's kind of incredible that they got away with it. All right, so why is this a problem? So we make an empty entity. Oh no, this is failing the first time. Never mind. So we add a buffer component, then we try to add an empty buffer component and it fails. So that's essentially adding a buffer that's currently, well, it's empty. So it doesn't have a length yet, so it doesn't really have any memory associated with it yet. And for some reason that is failing, which is interesting. Did I mess this up when I changed this stuff? Do I need to specify the length of it? I don't think so. Add empty buffer. Buffer ID. Memory owner byte.empty. Return buffer ID. The problem is it's not finding the entity. That's the super weird thing here. Because we're creating this entity, all right. Archetype by entity ID. Archetype.reserve first available. What's the lookup that failed? Entity indices. This failed some reason. So why would this fail, but only on this path? Because we just did it successfully adding these buffers. For some reason, adding the empty buffer is not working. You like the art style? Thank you. Yeah, very low res. We do very low res pixel art here. It's kind of our thing we've gotten into. So the empty buffer component just isn't being passed with a value for some reason. Copy entity with component. We have to pass this buffer component in. I think there's a problem there. I don't know, it says the problem somewhere else, but like I can't imagine. Given key entity ID was not present in the dictionary. It's very strange. Edit. Edit system.ready. Edit system.ready. So we create this entity. We add this empty buffer component. So 0, archetype, source type archetype. Entity indices 0. Chunk lists, chunks per list, composition, entity ID, block forms buffer 3D. Oh, that's wrong. Destination archetype. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. This thing's in a different archetype. It's in the wrong archetype. We're adding this buffer component to it. We add this buffer component, then we add this buffer component. For some reason, the entity is somewhere else. Oh, okay. Starting to understand. Source archetype. Entity ID, block forms buffer 3D. I see what's happening. It's very strange. We're trying to add this empty buffer. When we get here, we're like, here's this entity. We find its source archetype. We need to find its archetype. We try to get its archetype with this entity ID. The archetype we get back is wrong. It says entity ID block forms buffer 3D. It should also say block rooms buffer 3D because that's where the entity is. Well, this says entity count 1, which is suspicious. The entity indices is 0. Something's happening when we're adding the second buffer, and then we're failing when we hit the third. I kind of want to see what's going on here before we hit the error. Or are you not going to tell me anything? I guess what I should do is put it here. Hello? Can I put a breakpoint here? I guess I gotta put it here. Before we return this, let's just break here. All right. So we try to add a block forms buffer. Great. To this entity. We correctly identify this entity's archetype as just entity. Okay, and then we put it into entity ID block forms buffer 3D. Cool. This all looks good so far. And then so we're going to do this. We're going to pass through to the next one. Resume program. Stop here. Do this again. Now we're trying to add a block rooms buffer 3D. We're taking it from entity ID block forms buffer 3D. We are putting it in entity ID block forms buffer 3D. Okay. There's a problem here where we're not copy entity with component into which archetype though. We're not doing the archetype correct. We're trying to copy it from one archetype to the same archetype, which for some reason doesn't seem to work. Just curious. Not that one would ever want to do that sort of thing, but I would have liked for it to have worked. Okay, so why is that happening? There's some misconfiguration with this component. Rooms buffer 3D. Let's look at the components. That has to be it, otherwise I have no idea. Let's go get our components here. Do I need a static version of the component? How do I have this? So block forms buffer 3D. Okay, block rooms buffer 3D. Oh. Well, I should add it to this list, but I don't see how that would have mattered. I don't love the way I structure... what's the name of this will be? You know, it's a good question. I refer to the channel as the channel's Digital Iliad. That was always intended to be the name of the game. Now it's come to kind of mean more than just that, so I don't know. We have a side project we want to make. We have an idle game that we want to make, like a chill, cozy game that we want to make as like a little side project using the same tech. So I think we're going to see multiple games out of this tech. Digital Iliad, the game. Yeah, I don't know. I'm honestly okay with doing a self-titled thing. I don't have a huge problem with that. This is a nested task, huh? Why do I do it this way? Well, I guess I understand why I do it this way. But I think this is causing a problem. I think I need to specify that the task within here is not blocking. I think maybe that's what's happening. No, that can't be it, because this is all still just ready stuff. We haven't even gotten to the run function yet. You're very creative. Yeah, we know. What else could it be in the components thing? So we've got our flags. Got these. What we do need to do is also check the types, which I thought I declared here. Block rooms buffer 3D. The name is wrong, but that can't possibly be the issue. Wait, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The value of the component that we keep adding is higher than that. Maybe 3 and 4. No, that doesn't make sense. Somewhere something is misnamed or something. Yeah, this is the problem. We're passing in, our composition is wrong. Value 1, value 8. I don't know what that means exactly. Oh, because that's value 1. 1, 8. Okay, so this is value 8. So we're not adding value 16 here for some reason. We're identifying the composition incorrectly or something like that. It's very strange. T1 component. T1 is... Why would this work the first time but not the second time? It's definitely the problem. We're adding this second kind of buffer, but for some reason, the system is not recognizing the correct archetype. Get archetype, entity ID. Archetype by entity ID, try get value. Are we not storing this correctly here? Get entity, get archetype with component, component flags, type flag. Oh. T1.flag. Oh, right. No. That's just, you're using the graph edges to find the archetype that includes this component while we're making it. Okay. Singularity. Subscribing with Prime. Thank you so much. How's it going, Arity? All right. Sanity check here, I think, is just to... Well, I actually don't know what would be a sane check here. Edit system ready. Preview blocks, create entity. This function does not seem to be recording itself in the correct way here. Get archetype. So add buffer component, get archetype, entity ID. So we get this archetype. And then we need to get the archetype with this component, t1.flag. Component with buffer ID. Component.length. Finally remember to use your Prime. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Always happy to receive some Bezos bucks. Thank you for beaming up. Archetype by entity ID equals destination archetype. This is somehow where the whole problem is coming up, seemingly. And I think we can demonstrate why. Not why, but I think we can demonstrate that at least. So here the first time, we try to add this form buffer. We correctly identify that the entity is right now just in the archetype that consists of only entity IDs. So no components. We understand that its destination archetype should be an archetype that contains entity IDs and block form buffers. So that's all good. And then we should write that here. Back to the archetype by entity ID. Great. Great. All good. Then when we go to the next buffer, problem. Have problem now. So now we know where the buffer, where the entity is. It's in the archetype with entity IDs and block form buffers. But when we say, hey, the archetype we want the entity to end up in is the same archetype that we're trying to pull it out of. And that's wrong. That's the wrongness that's occurring here. It's kind of crazy though, because this component looks to be well formed. I don't see any problem with that, but maybe there is. ECS. This archetype and ECS thing. Yeah, so an archetype is like, you'd have one archetype that contains entities with positions, with position components. You'd have a different archetype that would contain entities with like position and direction components. And so you can say, give me all the entities that have position components, and it can, the query can iterate through all of the archetypes and say, here are all of the position components. Whether or not that entity has also a direction component, doesn't care. It's just like, give me all the archetypes with position in the archetype. So you store them all separately because you want them all stored uniformly. It does make sense. What doesn't make sense is this get archetype with component t1.flag is giving us the wrong result. This is, as far as I can tell, the root of the problem. t1.flag. Ooh. The t1.flag here is, oh, I'm so dumb. I set this component up wrong. That's it. That's so easy and so stupid. I'm so stupid. Yeah, if we go to Blockrooms Buffer 3D, we actually have the flag set up as a static, and I didn't change it. That explains so much. Well, GG. Oh, I should probably turn the breakpoint off. Is it working? Does it just work now? Sort of, not really. All right, the question is, where is that problem coming up? That doesn't even sound like a sync problem. Boom. Yeah, and immediately the next problem rears its head here. Let's forget about this fill system stuff for now. Let's just forget about all of this. Just want to verify that everything outside of this part is working. Didn't know you were doing C# for this project? Oh, yeah. The simulation layer is totally C#. Okay, good. So the good news is this problem is not in the flood fill system. This is just, we're not cleaning things up correctly. It's one of our new functions, one of our refactored functions that we wrote. It's not cleaning things up correctly. Nix, by the way, today you had to go for your, you had to go for some results. You're normal, yeah. Nice, nice. Good news. Good for news from the doctor is always good news. Arda, you don't know this editor, but in almost anything you can middle click a tab to close it. Yeah? Oh yeah, look at that. People always telling me all this stuff. Someone the other day told me about how I can just middle click to I could just middle click to open a browser or a tab. Open a link as a separate tab. Shows how like little I know about this stuff. That's cool. Thanks for that. I always like to think of chat as like my workflow coach. Because everyone knows little things. Everyone learns little things about workflows, but nobody generally knows everything about every workflow. But I kind of just get to like crowdsource all the wisdom. You went to your doctor 4 times during the week? That sucks. But at least you're getting good news. Yeah, this editor is JetBrains Writer. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Apparently, you can try it for free. And by try it, I mean use it for non-commercial purposes. So the problem then is down here, we're not doing the reveal. So reveal block forms, not hidden block contains. Output.set coords, input.get coords. See, the reveal is not working. That's fine. We can fix that. Does that happen here? No, it doesn't. Maybe it should. You middle click tabs in all browsers to close them as well? Really? Oh yeah, look at that. Neat. Very neat. Can you use it with GDScript too? You can. I don't totally love how it looks with GDScript. This is really a software. JetBrains Writer specifically was kind of written to be for C#, is my understanding. But like if I go, I even have to go outside of the... How do I get it to do this? There's a way to get it to show everything in the project, and I don't remember. But yeah, you can open GDScript files in Writer and it works fine. I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks. It looks weird because I've been so used to writing C# in this program for so long that if I open show all files, here we go. So we just pick one of these. Do I have a camera script? Yeah, it looks fine. A little weird without braces. So I like to write my GDScript in the Godot editor. It just feels better. It helps me get into the headspace. But yeah, you could totally use it for both. All right, so the problem here is we're not cleaning up after ourselves. Bounds.get not overlapping with prior bounds. Settled blocks. Ooh, this is wrong. Settled block forms. Why is that read right? That's double wrong. That has to be read only. Okay, so that's workable. So reveal block forms from settled blocks to preview blocks. This looks like it works. This basically just rolls back any changes. Output.set coordinates, input.get coordinates. Inblocks.remove. Are we not writing these correctly? Are we not recording these in the hidden blocks thing? It looks like we are all the time. Make sure that's true here. Huh. I don't totally understand why that's happening. Gonna sleep? No worries. Yeah, thanks for checking it out. Appreciate that. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, so for some reason... it's just straight up not cleaning up after itself most of the time. Just curious. It should be relatively easy to fix when I can figure out where it's happening. Interesting. It almost certainly has to do with the boundary. Should this be not being recorded here? Should this be getting recorded somewhere else? Should I be changing this? Bounds.overlaps. View blocks. No, that's good. That's good. So we place the blocks. Bounds, preview blocks, active block tool. Bounds, get non-overlapping. Okay. What if we did this a little differently? What if we did this first? This isn't how I'd want to do it, but I want to understand where the problem is happening. Yeah, okay. So yeah. Interesting. This is kind of wasteful to do it this way, so I don't want to do it this way, but it works this way. Whoa, what happened there? I thought I caught something in my eye here. That's not good. Oh, but that's because we're not... I actually understand why that's happening. That's fine. That's because we're not syncing right now. So I'm trying to... We're not doing any kind of settling or syncing of... So if we just do that to everything, we're okay. It's this get non-overlapping that is a problem. Oh, I need to flip it. I think I just needed to flip it. Yeah, okay, good. That makes sense. All right, now what we can do is we can re-engage this stuff, the sync. And then we can watch that fail in an interesting and unpredictable way. Oh, or does it just kind of work? Maybe it just kind of works. We can tell that the flood fill is not working, really. Yeah. Oh, there are some problems here doing it this way. I see where some of that problem would be. This song is weird. Shenanigans. You ended up being on the phone with the bank for the last 45 minutes. Oh man, you miss anything exciting? No, definitely not. All right, so here's the problem. Here's a bit of the problem. I don't know how much success I'm going to have with doing it this way. I'm going to keep trying. So I think I need to be able to do this almost all the time. No. I'm using this buffer to do the recovery stuff, and that's not going to work. We're going to need a hidden blocks. We're going to need to put one of those directly on here. So right now I have this hash set. That's the hidden blocks. We actually need to keep track of the forms here. This can't be a hash map. This needs to be, or a hash set. It needs to be like a hash map. Do we not call it hash map? I guess we just call it dictionary, huh? Lol. So we actually have to store this because you can't mess with the settled block buffer. I could have this in a buffer. I could have this. I'm going to call this hidden forms because that's all it's going to track for now. And that broke a bunch of stuff probably. So hidden forms, we're going to say erase block, hidden forms, add, cowards. So we actually need to add this before we do the copy. We're going to say buffer.span index. The only other thing we could do here is like use a list. Or I guess we could do a buffer and have it be the same size as all the other buffers, but we're going to try a dictionary for now. Since this is only being consumed here, I think this is maybe okay. Thanks, autocomplete, for actually being semi-competent today. Few more here. Basically anywhere we're setting the hidden blocks, hidden forms. So here we can just remove. I guess we can just remove. Well, hold on. So we're not going to do this input anymore. We're not going to do it like this. Why doesn't contains work? I guess we make it a try get value. Let's call this buffer again. So we don't even want to mess with the settled buffer at all. I'm gonna say hidden form. Oh, set. Oh no, set is the correct word for the buffer. Okay, okay. This is going well. Okay, this should be good. This should make it easier to keep up here. And we can get rid of these references. This thing is not even going to read from this. We're not even going to read from this. Reveal block forms. Yeah, that's what I just fixed. We're just going to totally forget about this. We're actually going to get rid of it from here. Get rid of all reference to this. This is a little concerning. I don't know why that's the one we're using for that. All right, let's see if we fixed that problem. Crash. Hidden forms.add coordinates buffer span index. An item with the same key has already been added. Oh. How is that? Oh, instead of add, we can just say... We can just do an indexer, right? So in theory, we might replace the element there. Instead of using an add. Well, there's no input here. Oh, wait, there is this. How do we use this? Merge block forms, clipped blocks. Oh, no, that's fine. We can do that. We can keep doing that. Okay. So, okay, good. So now stuff isn't getting like erased when I go to draw over it again. That's important, although this is failing to some extent for some reason. Interesting. Does that have the same behavior up here? It does. Does it have the same behavior as this? Okay, so now this isn't working. Weird. It's probably this assignment here. Oh, that's a problem. Okay, I understand. You gotta go, you got stuff to do. No worries. Thanks for hanging out, Nix. Probably wrap it up relatively soon. I just want to fix this. I think I understand what the problem is. I can't just say, I can't just do this because it's just going to be, it's going to be writing over it all the time. But it can be, what it could be is a triad. So I'm going to switch these all back to being adds here, I think. I think it's just going to be a triad. There's still like a hidden forms clear thing that should be happening. Okay, so far so good. Okay, I think I fixed it. It's cleaning itself up when I'm in the middle of an action. So this is what I mean when I'm like previewing something. Like, we haven't settled this. We're just drawing stuff, right? We should be able to draw multiple levels too. And then so, oh, that's curious. So the whole stuff is messed up right off the bat for some reason. For some reason, the default value has these all set to be inside, which is wrong. Default should be outside. But this should correct itself pretty quickly. I think that's a little weird. Because we're making this buffer right off the bat. We aren't getting it, but we are making it. Tile system. So where are we getting our hull data from? xblockrooms.has any. Oh, this is flipped. This is flipped. Easy fix there. Do we do that same thing anywhere here? Okay, there it's arranged correctly, so that's good. Just gotta fix it up here. We were flipping it, so we were presuming that all the hulls were interior instead of presuming that they're exterior. That should be correct from like a default value standpoint. Now. Yeah, so now these are treated as exterior, which means they won't mess up the cutaway system. Oh, they're still messing up the cutaway system for some reason. We should be kicking in the exterior cutaway, which should be hiding this stuff. It's not. We're also, I saw an auto tiler problem there. Cutaway, if rooms.hasAny and rooms.bounds.length is greater than 0. So rooms.hasAnything should be false. Preview block rooms. Try get absolute cursor coordinates out block rooms. If rooms.hasAny and room bounds.length is greater than 0, we should do this. Else we should do this. Yeah, we should be doing this, but for some reason, if we're doing this, it's not behaving correctly. Cutaways, forms hasAny, block chords.hasAny. Block chords.z is less than cursor chords.z. I don't totally understand. Let's see if we're doing this. Seems like we're not. Okay, we are. I'm not going to be able to do that. What I could do is I could say debug.writeLine, exterior, cutaway. Okay, this is going to stop at a certain point here. Okay, no, it's still treating this as an exterior cutaway, but it's not getting rid of this thing. Why is it not getting rid of the ceiling? There's always some kind of side effect to changing this stuff that I don't understand. Forms.getAbsolute block chords.hasAny continue. The heck does this mean? I don't know what that's doing, but it seems to be doing something. Okay, that seems to be working. Why was that carve out desirable? I don't know what that line of code was doing, but it's better now. All right, we're doing good. We're almost done with this part, I think. We just gotta hook back up the fill stuff, the flood fill system and everything. But we're out of time for today, so we're gonna pick that up tomorrow, I think, for episode 256, which we celebrate our power of 2 episodes here, so that's very exciting. I have episode 256. But yeah, I got some laundry and stuff to do. How do we celebrate them? We go back and we look at the last Power of 2 episode. That's how it's supposed to work. I'm really hoping that's how I did it the right way. So we'll go look at episode 128 and see what we were doing. And then at the beginning of episode 128, hopefully we'll have gone back to episode 64. So there's going to be this like tunnel vision where hopefully if everything lines up, we can kind of see back to the beginning of the project. And we kind of get this idea. We get this kind of exponential scale of like progress. I'm hoping it works out. It's kind of the only thing I have planned. And it'll be a while until episode 512. So this will be our last look back for a long time. And hopefully in, a year and a half when we're at episode 512, we can look back at this time and be like, oh, thank God we're not working on the editor anymore. If we're still working on the editor at episode 512, maybe I need to rethink some things, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. I really appreciate everyone for hanging out today. It shocks me that anybody is interested in doing this, but I really appreciate it. It's cool. You wonder if you were around when that episode came out. Yeah, I don't know. Was I even around when that episode came out? It's hard to say. We'll see. We'll find out. But yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope I see you back tomorrow for episode 256, which will hopefully be a nice long stream. Yeah. Bye.